Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about more popular books that I hate. So I did a video about popular books that I don't like, that I hate, about a year ago, and you guys all really seem to like that one. But yeah, it has been a year and I've read some more popular books that I really did not like, so I thought, why not do a second part? And yeah, as I said, I know people usually like these kinds of videos. I know I like these kinds of videos. So basically, let's just get started and then I'm going to tell you all about more popular books that I hate or that I did not like. The first book I want to talk about is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrow of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. This is a very well-loved magical realism book. It's about a girl named Ava Lavender who is born with wings, but it's also about the stories of her grandmother and her mother, so it's sort of like a story through generations, and it's all about like weird stuff and there's a lot of magic involved, but it's also set in our own real world, so it's a bit confusing. I mean, confusing, I guess that's what magical realism is, but anyway. And yeah, as I said, many people love this book very much. They find it very beautiful and very emotional, and that's why I had it on my TBR for a very long time before I ended up reading it earlier this year. Yeah, and I'm afraid to say that I was quite disappointed by it. I won't say though that I really hated this one, but I was very much underwhelmed and I just really did not know what to think about it. First of all, I didn't really like any of the characters. Like, I know characters don't have to be perfect, but in this case I just didn't really like them whatsoever. Like, I wasn't actively hating them, but I wasn't really rooting for them either. And yeah, as I said, it's magical realism, but to me the magical aspect felt a little bit weird and sort of random. And again, I know that is the genre, so that might be something personal, that I just don't like it all that much. But sometimes there were just chapters where everything seemed normal and then something completely randomly magical happened just out of nowhere. No explanation, no reason, it just randomly happened. And I just don't like that, because even when there's magic involved, I still want it to make sort of sense. And I felt with this book it really didn't. And yeah, I guess some people really loved it and I can sort of see why, but I just did not. And then also something that was a really big disappointment for me was the ending of this book. Of course, I cannot say much about it. I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending was quite heavy in my opinion, but not in a good way to me. Like, I was hoping that the ending might sort of like redeem the book for me, but it really didn't. It did the opposite. I just really did not like how they handled it. It left me feeling very uncomfortable. And yet still, I don't really know what to think of it. This book makes me feel very confused, but not in a good way. And yeah, I think I was also just really disappointed because I had really high expectations of Ava Lavender, but they didn't like came through for me, so that was just very sad. Again, I can see why a lot of people do love it, but it really wasn't the book for me. I just did not like it. It left me feeling very weird, and yeah, I just did not like this popular book. Then the next book I want to talk about is Our Dark Duet by Victoria Schwab. This is the second book in the like Our Savage Song duology. This is a book series about a world where there are like different kinds of monsters, and then there's Kate who tries to sort of fight these monsters, and then there's also August who is a monster. And yeah, I read this Savage Song. I wasn't completely in love with that book, but I did like it. And then I decided to pick up Our Dark Duet, the sequel, which is incredibly popular, but unfortunately I was quite disappointed by it. So Our Dark Duet, I find it very difficult to explain exactly what I don't like about it, but overall I was just very bored when I read it, which is weird because it's supposed to be this like action-packed series about monsters. There's like a war, there are a lot of lives on stake, but this book could not get my attention. I just sort of forced myself through it. And I think even though I liked the main characters in the first book, I just really did not bond with them all that well in the second. The story seemed a little bit more off to me, a little bit less exciting. I did not really understand certain decisions that were made, and I just wasn't feeling like the love or like the excitement for the characters or like the relationships between them. And again, I was very sad about that because so many people were raving about Our Dark Duet and they said it was even better than this Savage Song. But for me, it was really the opposite. I just it did not grab me. I did not feel it. It was just quite boring and I was just not interested in the story at all. Also, I don't really like how it ended all that much. It just felt very weird and random to me. Like at some point I just stopped caring about everything. And yeah, to me, Our Dark Duet really wasn't this mind-blowing finale of a duology that it was to everyone else. That's also why I don't have the books anymore. I've unhauled them. I just didn't like them all that much, and I feel like this is quite an unpopular opinion because so many people do. But yeah, Our Dark Duet wasn't the book for me, and yeah, I didn't care about it at all. And then the next book that I did really hate is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. So yeah, To Kill a Kingdom is a sort of dark retelling of The Little Mermaid. So we have Lyra, who is this siren princess, and she's really brutal and she murders princes by like ripping their hearts out. And then one day she gets cursed by her mother, the Sea Queen, and she gets transformed into a human. And then there's also Prince Aelion, who is like this prince who's actually sort of a pirate and who likes to hunt sirens. So yeah, the premise sounds really exciting. I'm all about like a dark mermaid retelling, everything. And beforehand I was sort of like, I knew this book was going to be a hit or miss for me, but it was definitely a big miss because this book is probably the most boring book I think I've ever read. The funny thing is, I sort of like the first chapter. Like the first chapter was interesting and like I loved the way it was going. It was brutal, but like literally after that it went completely downhill. It was so boring, like, and so predictable and so not interesting. So all the characters were very one-dimensional. I feel like they all had one character trait and that was it. With like Prince Aelion and his like crew, his ship, they tried to create this sort of like bond, this sort of like friendship. I did not feel it at all because like I didn't think I knew the characters all that well by the end of the book. And then also this book takes place in like this big world with all these different kingdoms and queens and kings and princes. And again, all these kingdoms were known for like basically one characteristic and that's it. But because there are so many, they all have to get introduced and we sort of have to like build this world. But this book is not that big, so there really isn't much time to do all this like world building, and you can really tell that the book suffers from that because everything is just so simple, but that also makes it so boring. We get quick explanations for like every kingdom and every character, but it's not enough to make me care about them. And also like this book is the most predictable thing ever. I feel like you can tell how it's going to end like basically by reading the premise. And yeah, I also really wasn't that fond of the writing style. I didn't think it was very engaging or like exciting. And yeah, I think this book just suffers a lot from being too short because you don't have time for anything. You're just thrown into the story. It happens so quickly and you barely have time to sort of experience it at all. It's boring, it's one-dimensional, it's not interesting, and I really hated this one. Then the next book on my list is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This book is a thriller and it's about a woman named Camille who is a journalist, and she goes back to like her small hometown to investigate some murders on some very young girls. And because of that, she has to stay with her mother, with whom she has a very difficult relationship. And also she has this 13-year-old half-sister named Amma who she doesn't know very well. So yeah, this is quite a popular thriller. Like, I've heard a lot of people talk about it, and of course there's now an HBO show about it that also seems like very well loved. But I thought that Sharp Objects was like the weirdest book I've ever read. Like, this book is so weird and so random. Like, it almost seemed funny to me. Basically, you just get thrown into the story without any explanation whatsoever. And I feel it's like sort of the theme of the entire book, like no explanation for anything. And I get that sometimes you have to like tell the story gradually and not give everything away at the beginning, but like still I want to have some context. And then also we have Camille, who like is investigating these murders for like a piece that she wants to write, and the decisions that she makes in doing this are like questionable. And I get that Camille like isn't in the best place mentally, so like I get that's where they were going for. But still, sometimes she's thinking about certain things that she's discovered, and then randomly she decides to do something completely different, completely weird. And then again, we get no explanation for it, no reason. And a lot of the times it just never pays off. Like, it was just there to be weird or random or creepy, I guess, because this book is definitely creepy, but not in a good way, I think. And basically just every single character was weird and creepy. And again, most of the times without any reason or explanation, and it just sort of seemed to be there just to be there. And also everything happened so quickly, and like at some point I was just like thinking, okay, let's just see what's going to happen next, because it's probably something really weird and random. And it often proved to be true, so I was almost like laughing because, okay, apparently we're now doing this. I don't know why, but it's apparently what we're going to do. And like, the story did not feel coherent at all, and like, I don't know, I really don't know what this book was going for. Yeah, definitely not a very good thriller in my opinion. Maybe I should try some of her other work, because maybe that's better, I don't know. And I do know that the HBO show is supposed to be a lot better, so I might give that a chance. But yeah, the book, it was just so weird. I like really don't know what to think of it, but I really did not like it. I mean, sort of in a way that it's sometimes funny to read a bad book, but it definitely was a bad book to me, because like, I just did not like it at all. I pretty much hated it. And then the last book I'm going to talk about today is one that really frustrates me, and it is Taj Hearts Tolstoy by Catherine Ormsby. Oh, this book. So Taj Hearts Tolstoy promises to be about a girl named Natasha. She has a YouTube channel where she makes this like web series, sort of a retelling of Anna Karenina? I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, a retelling of like Tolstoy's work. And then one day this web series goes viral, and like, they get really big and famous. And also Taj is asexual, and she has to deal with that. I say the book promises to be about that, because in my opinion it really wasn't. It's true, the YouTube channel and the being asexual are in there, but they're just two of many different like little plots that are going on. Like, of course the book starts out with YouTube, but then it really quickly fades to the background, and apparently it's not that important at all anymore. And yes, Natasha is asexual, and I don't know if the representation is good, because of course I'm not asexual, but I saw a lot of Goodreads reviews saying that it was a really good representation. So if people say that, I'm sure that is done well. But I do want to say that again, the being asexual is just like a little part of it. Like, there's so many stuff going on that I really don't think it gets the attention that it deserves. Like, some of the other plots include Taj not knowing where she wants to go to college, Taj having sort of a fallout with her older sister, two friends of Taj who like each other but don't really dare to admit it, the relationship between Taj and her best friend Jack and her older brother Paul. And like, I can go on for a while, because there's so much more of these little plots that don't really seem to go anywhere. Like, I don't mind if a book has multiple focus points, but I also think that it really needs to concentrate on certain things if you really want to get like your message across. With this book, I was so excited that it was going to be about YouTube, because of course I do YouTube, so I really wanted to read about that. And I was so disappointed that it really wasn't that important within the book. Like, it really wasn't that big of a deal. And most of the little plots didn't really have a payoff. Like, sometimes the characters would talk about it, or like Taj would think about it, but a lot of the things were solved instantly, like later on in the book, so it wasn't really that much of a problem to begin with, apparently. And also Taj is such a horrible main character. I really did not like her all that much. She did some things that I really don't agree with. She said some things that I really don't agree with. And this book just frustrated me the entire time. I didn't care for a lot of the things. There's also a lot of like tell and not show, just telling about certain things and then later on telling that it was solved. So like, I don't care about that. Why should I be interested in a story like that? And yeah, that was why I was very much disappointed by it, because it was not what I had expected it to be, and I think it wasn't like a very good overall story. And yeah, I just really did not like it. It's really one of the least favorite books I've read so far this year. I hate it. I cannot like talk about it with getting frustrated again. So yeah, I really did not like Hearts Tolstoy, unfortunately, but no, really not a book for me. So yeah, this was it for more popular books that I hate or like sometimes didn't like. And yeah, it's always sort of fun to like rant about books that you did not like, just to like vent your frustrations. I know there are a lot of people out there who will really disagree with me, which is completely fine because of course everyone has different bookish opinions. But if you do agree with me on some of these, please let me know, and then know that you're not alone with your unpopular opinions. But yeah, this was it for this video, and if you like this video, please go subscribe or maybe give it a thumbs up because I would really appreciate that. And then hopefully I will see you again in my next video. Bye!